This is always a favorite. So here's the digital alarm clock, as you can see here, made up of lots of dashes and slashes and underscores. So what I'll be doing in this exercise is doing a walkthrough of the application code. I'll be my own worst critic, and I'll indicate several areas where I still think the code could be improved. But I will be showing some nice short single responsibility methods, and a lot of the focus that I had in doing this exercise was on good naming and properties. Let's get started. So in this golden oldie, which I like doing in many languages that I practicing at, it's digital alarm clock. So let me just fire off a version here, and you can see why I've got a tiny little window. There we go, a digital alarm clock. I'm kind of cheating with the window here because in reality, here's my terminal window. Okay, but that's just a little way to cheat, just by making it small like that. Alright, so let's just stop that for a second. Let's push that out of the way. So in this case, I'm just going to review the code. I'm not going to walk through typing it all in. So I've got a couple of files here, which I just use the standard naming for many of these practices. Really, they should be called, obviously, digital clock. And you see, I have a class here. I did not originally have a class. I started producing all of these different methods, and after I got to several of them, I realized that that grouping of stuff that I was trying to do would belong very nicely in a class. So here we have a fairly standard class now with our constructor. And I'm going to point out things that I potentially would improve or might consider questionable in a code review sort of manner. I'm perfectly happy to criticize my own code here. So the first thing here is that I'm only checking this third parameter, sex, for seconds. So I might actually be passed only 1 or 2 or 3 or none. And I'm basically saying if I don't get 3, it's a little bit of a shortcut, and certainly it could be improved. Then I'm going to say I didn't get the parameters I want. I'm going to create my own date here. I'm going to go ahead and do that and set hours, minutes, and seconds. Otherwise, I'm going to assume, and again, there's another assumption here that's not really validated in the code, that these are hours, minutes, and seconds, and I'm going to set these 3 accordingly. So this could definitely be improved, but it's fairly clear what it's trying to do. And then we have the various methods that are in this class. I'm going to focus on the class in this exercise. I'm on the application code in this exercise. Over here you can see the test code, which calls all the various methods. So that's great that we've got all of that. So the first one is digital numbers. And you can see here, this calculates 6 digits using hours, minutes, and seconds, and logs the result, and then returns it. And as is often the case, this is somewhat of the entry point, really, of the main method that's called. It calls a lot of other methods. But as you can see here, 6 digits. That's here, defined here, and that in itself calls 2 digits 3 times. It could be refactored, but 3 times. This is very, very simple to read like this. We've got things changing here. We've got this changing here. I don't think it's really necessary to try to dry this up, just because it looks like it's duplicated. It's just easy this way. So we call it 3 times with hours, minutes, and seconds, and then we create our digits from the 6 of those, and we use assemble new rows. And if we take a look at assemble new rows, we can see here this assembles 1 row. So in a given row, this is where it gets pretty hard to read, but we've got we use row and separator here. We pull out 1, 2, 3. Separator is the colon, is a colon. So this is basically displaying the time. This is formatting out the time. But if we work back up, we see it does that for the tops, the mids, and the bots, as it's called. And when we look at that, that's how this string here works. That we want to get a given number. We say we want the number 3. We go for that position and take those 3 or 4 characters there. You can see it does extract big digit. It's actually 3 characters, and it does that operation there. All short methods. which have tests, so the coverage is pretty good, and it basically assembles up what you saw running at the beginning. So we're using destructuring here, which is nice, makes it fairly easy to read, and we're using a ternary operator here because we have to prefix the first 0 to 9 with a 0 to get a 2-character string that we can then work off. So that's why we have this little bit of code here. And let's see, what else do we have here? So again, you're kind of walking down, each part is calling down and doing all of that. And then we have a runner here, which is just setting it. So that's the end of our code review. Let's see how many parameters we've got. We've got 3, 1, 2, 1. That's pretty good. And our method lengths, this is probably in some respects the longest one here, but it's a constructor, so that's a little different. Here we've got six lines, including the return. So nothing really too complicated, pretty clear what everything does, and everything's covered with tests. Alright. Plenty of improvements still, but that's what we've got for now.